Think a dime is only worth 10 cents? Think again. Some Roosevelt dimes are selling for hundreds, even thousands of dollars, and they could be hiding right in your pocket. From rare mint errors to valuable silver editions, these tiny coins pack big surprises. Check your change. Your next dime could be worth a fortune. The 1999 Roosevelt dime might be one of the smallest coins in your pocket, but what if I told you that some of them are worth thousands, even more than $100,000? It's hard to believe that a 10-cent coin you've probably used countless times could have such an incredible story behind it. Yet, among the billions of 1999 dimes struck by the U.S. Mint, there are a few rare and exceptional examples that have captured the attention of collectors and auction houses alike, selling for staggering prices ranging from $44,000 to as much as $122,000. The Roosevelt dime, honoring President Franklin D. Roosevelt, has been a mainstay of American coinage since 1946. Designed by John R. Sinek, the obverse features the familiar profile of Roosevelt, while the reverse displays a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. By 1999, the design was so common that few people paid attention to it. But as with so many coins in U.S. history, small minting differences and rare errors from that year have made certain pieces truly extraordinary. In 1999, dimes were produced at 3 U.S. mint facilities: Philadelphia, with the P mint mark, Denver with the D mint mark, and San Francisco with the S mint mark for proofs. While most of these coins are worth only their face value, a few special varieties have proven to be far more valuable than anyone could have imagined. One of the most fascinating discoveries involving the 1999 dime is the transitional error variety, where the coin was struck on an incorrect planchet, essentially the wrong type of metal blank. The standard 1999 dime should be made of a copper core with a copper-nickel outer layer and weigh 2.27 grams. But on rare occasions, a leftover planchet from another denomination or composition was mistakenly used. One famous example involved a 1999 D. Roosevelt dime that was struck on a 1998 silver dime planchet, an error that wasn't supposed to happen since silver dimes hadn't been produced for decades. That coin, when discovered and authenticated by PCGS, sold for a remarkable $48,000. Then came another discovery that took the coin collecting community by surprise: a 1999 P. Roosevelt dime struck on a foreign planchet. Slightly lighter than usual and showing a unique pale tone, the coin stood out immediately to experienced collectors. After testing, it was confirmed as an off-metal strike, likely using a blank intended for a foreign coin minted by the U.S. Mint for export. When it went up for auction, the coin sparked intense bidding and eventually sold $4.56, but those pale in comparison to the record-breaking sales for coins that were perfectly struck and perfectly preserved. High-grade examples of 1999 dimes, particularly those graded MS-69 or MS-70 by PCGS or NGC, have become some of the most desirable modern coins in the series. In one remarkable case, a 1999 D. Roosevelt dime graded MS-70, a flawless specimen, sold for $44,000 at a Stack's Bowers auction. That price stunned many collectors who never thought a coin from the 1990s could reach such heights. Yet it didn't stop there. Another flawless 1999 P dime with full strike details and a brilliant mirror-like surface fetched a jaw-dropping $122,000 at Heritage Auctions, setting a record that still stands today for a modern business strike dime. Why are these coins so valuable? It all comes down to rarity, perfection, and collector demand. Out of the billions of dimes produced in 1999, only a few survived in absolutely pristine, untouched condition. Most coins from that year went straight into circulation, accumulating scratches, dulling, and wear from years of use. Finding one that remains in perfect mint state, with no blemishes, no bag marks, and sharp, crisp details, is like finding a needle in a haystack. When such a coin does appear, collectors compete fiercely for it. Proof coins from the San Francisco Mint also hold their share of value. While most proof sets from 1999 are common and affordable, perfect examples graded PR70 Deep Cameo have become highly sought after. These proofs were struck multiple times on specially prepared planchets, giving them mirror-like fields and frosted designs. One PR70 Deep Cameo 1999 S. Roosevelt dime sold for $2,950, while another with slightly more vivid cameo contrast and superb toning sold for $5,700. Proof coins with unique toning, especially natural rainbow hues caused by long-term storage, can command even higher prices from collectors seeking visually distinctive pieces. But beyond perfection and proof coins, there's another layer of rarity: minting errors. The 1999 Roosevelt dime saw several unusual errors that have become prized finds. Off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing due to misalignment during striking, are among the most eye-catching. A 1999 D dime struck 25% off-center sold for $1,850, while a more dramatic 45% off-center piece, showing nearly half of the blank planchet, sold for $3,700. Then there's the double die obverse variety, where parts of the inscriptions "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" appear slightly doubled. These subtle yet noticeable errors can make a coin instantly more valuable. A sharp example in MS-67 condition sold for $2,400, and another, slightly better preserved, reached $3,000. Coins with clear, dramatic doubling are extremely rare from the 1990s, making these examples particularly collectible. A few broad strike and partial collar errors from 1999 have also turned up and fetched impressive prices. These occur when the collar that shapes the coin's rim malfunctions, allowing the metal to expand outward during striking. The result is a slightly larger, smoother-edged coin with distorted lettering around the rim. A beautiful example in uncirculated condition sold for $2,100 at Great Collections, while another broad strike paired with a double strike error went for over $5,000. Collectors love these kinds of coins not only for their value but also for the stories they tell. Each one is a small accident of history, a result of a brief imperfection in an otherwise highly controlled minting process. These imperfections, combined with time and chance, are what transform an ordinary dime into a treasure. Interestingly, 1999 marked an important time for U.S. coinage. It was the final year before the U.S. Mint launched the popular 50-state quarters program in 1999, which means many collectors began paying more attention to modern coins during this period. That renewed interest helped boost awareness of modern errors and high-grade examples from the late 1990s, including the Roosevelt dime series. Another compelling story involves a coin roll hunter who discovered an extraordinary 1999 D dime in a sealed bankroll. Under bright light, the coin's surfaces looked different, deeply lustrous, with no blemishes visible. When submitted to PCGS, it came back graded as MS-69, tied for one of the highest grades known for the date. The coin was later sold privately for $48,500. It's stories like this that keep the hobby alive, because even decades later, treasures are still being found in ordinary rolls of coins. At major auctions, demand for high-quality 1999 Roosevelt dimes continues to rise. The $122,000 sale for the flawless 1999 P dime remains one of the highest prices ever achieved for a modern 10-cent piece. Another similar example sold for $86,400 a year later, proving that collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums for coins of this caliber. Even examples graded 1 or 2 points lower can fetch several $1,000s, with MS-68 coins routinely selling between $1,200 and $3,000 depending on eye appeal and luster. Collectors looking for valuable 1999 dimes often focus on several key details. The sharpness of Roosevelt's hair and the clarity of the lettering are essential indicators of a strong strike. The torch and branches on the reverse should also display full, crisp lines. Any doubling, die breaks, or unusual coloration should be examined closely, as these features can dramatically increase a coin's desirability. Weighing the coin can also reveal if it's an off-metal strike. A dime that's slightly heavier or lighter than 2.27 grams could be something very special. While most 1999 dimes will forever remain worth 10 cents, the few that have achieved legendary status remind us that rarity can exist even in modern coins. It's not always about age. It's about perfection, uniqueness, and the unexpected quirks that make a coin stand out from the billions just like it. Somewhere, perhaps in a forgotten collection or a jar of spare change, another 1999 Roosevelt dime may still be waiting to be discovered. It might look ordinary at first glance, but a closer inspection could reveal something remarkable. A tiny masterpiece worth tens of thousands of dollars. Whether it's an immaculate mint state example or a fascinating mint error, these coins continue to inspire collectors and dreamers alike. The 1970 Roosevelt dime might look like just another common coin that passed through millions of hands, yet for collectors and coin experts, it represents one of the most fascinating and surprising chapters in modern U.S. minting history. At first glance, it's small, ordinary, and made of base metals rather than silver, but hidden within its variations, minting errors, and rare high-grade examples lies a story that continues to capture the attention of numismatists across America. What's even more remarkable is that some of these tiny 10-cent coins have fetched astounding prices at auction, with values soaring from $60,000 to $144,000 depending on the condition, variety, and rarity. By 1970, the Roosevelt dime had already become a familiar part of everyday American life. It had been in circulation for 24 years, first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his death. Designed by John R. Sinek, the dime features a left-facing portrait of Roosevelt on the obverse, along with the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," and the date positioned neatly to the right. The reverse bears a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, powerful symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. It's a design that's simple yet elegant, reflecting the enduring spirit of America during the post-war years. What makes the 1970 dime particularly interesting is the timing of its production. The coin was struck just a few years after the United States Mint transitioned away from using silver in circulating dimes. From 1965 onward, all regular issue dimes were made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, consisting of a pure copper core sandwiched between two layers of copper and nickel. This change was driven by the rising cost of silver in the early 1960s, which made it impractical to continue minting coins with precious metal content. However, the transition period led to several unusual minting errors, and even by 1970, remnants of that shift still lingered, resulting in a few extraordinary mistakes that have become legendary among collectors. One of the most remarkable varieties connected to the 1970 Roosevelt dime is the rare off-metal strike, coins that were accidentally struck on leftover silver planchets from previous years. Although the U.S. Mint officially stopped producing silver dimes in 1964, it's believed that a few leftover 90% silver planchets were mixed in with the 1970 production runs, possibly by oversight. These rare transitional error coins weigh slightly more than the standard copper-nickel-clad dimes, and they have a distinctive luster and sound that set them apart. Verified examples have sold for tens of thousands of dollars at auction. In one case, a 1970 Roosevelt dime struck on a silver planchet sold for over $23,000, while another of exceptionally high grade reportedly crossed the $40,000 mark. Experts agree that a perfect, uncirculated silver planchet error from 1970 could easily reach prices between $60,000 and $144,000 depending on condition and provenance. Another fascinating factor adding to the allure of the 1970 dime is the presence of extremely high-quality mint state examples. While billions of dimes were struck that year, most entered circulation quickly and were subjected to wear, scratches, and contact marks. Finding one that has survived in pristine mint condition, especially with full details, original luster, and sharp strikes, is incredibly rare. Coins graded MS67 or MS68 by leading grading services such as PCGS or NGC command premium prices. In one notable Heritage Auctions event, a 1970 Roosevelt dime graded MS68 full torch sold for $4,560, setting a record for its category. The full torch designation means that the vertical lines on the torch's flame and the horizontal bands below are completely visible, a sign of an exceptional strike. Such coins are prized by serious collectors for their beauty and precision. Interestingly, the 1970 Roosevelt dime also produced several well-known errors that continue to intrigue numismatists. One of the most dramatic is the off-center strike, where part of the design is missing due to misalignment during the striking process. Off-center dimes with visible dates and strong details can bring anywhere from $500 to several $1,000s depending on how far off the strike is. A particularly bold 1970 off-center dime with 40% of its design missing fetched $2,800 at auction. Another rare variety is the double-struck dime, where the coin was struck twice, creating a ghost-like overlapping image of Roosevelt's portrait. These coins are visually striking and can command $3,000 or more depending on clarity and grade. Some collectors have also identified 1970 Roosevelt dimes with double die errors, where parts of the lettering or the date appear doubled under magnification. While not all of these are dramatic, strong examples of double dies on the word liberty or in God we trust have sold for over $1,200, with some bringing even higher prices in top condition. Another unique error involves the 1970 dime struck on the wrong planchet. There have been documented cases of 1970 dimes struck on foreign coin blanks or even on planchets intended for pennies or nickels. These errors are incredibly rare and visually stunning because of their smaller or larger size, off-color appearance, and incomplete design. A famous example is a 1970 dime struck on a cent planchet that sold for nearly $6,000 due to its extraordinary nature. Wrong planchet errors continue to draw attention and strong bidding whenever they appear in major auctions. The 1970 Roosevelt dime is also connected to one of the most intriguing stories in modern U.S. coinage, the existence of proof dimes included in 1970's proof sets. While the regular 1970 dimes were struck for circulation in Philadelphia and Denver, special proof coins were produced at the San Francisco Mint for collectors. These proof dimes are known for their mirror-like surfaces and frosted details. Yet even among them, a few remarkable varieties stand out. One of the most famous is the 1970's proof dime struck without an S mint mark, a major mint error that resulted from a missing mint mark punch on one of the dies. Only a handful of these no-S proof dimes are known to exist, making them among the rarest modern proof coins ever discovered. One example sold for an astonishing $42,000, while another in perfect PR68 deep cameo condition sold for over $50,000. It's estimated that a flawless specimen could easily reach or exceed $100,000 today, with the potential to climb as high as $144,000 if offered in a high-profile auction. Even for collectors who focus on standard issues, the 1970 Roosevelt dime offers immense appeal. The year's coins reflect the precision and challenges of early clad coin production, and the best examples show exceptional craftsmanship. The design's fine details, Roosevelt's lifelike portrait, the texture of the torch, and the subtle balance of light and shadow on the branches come to life in high grades. When viewed under magnification, the artistry and technical skill of the mint become clear, elevating the coin far beyond its face value. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stax Bowers, and Great Collections have all recorded strong results for 1970 dimes, especially in top condition or with rare varieties. One example, a 1970's proof dime graded PR69 deep cameo, sold for $7,800, while a 1970p business strike dime in MS68 with full torch details brought $4,200. These may sound modest compared to six-figure prices of rare errors, but they demonstrate that even ordinary coins from this year can achieve exceptional value when preserved perfectly. Perhaps the most exciting aspect of the 1970 dime is the fact that valuable examples are still being discovered. Stories continue to surface of people finding unusual 1970 dimes in old coin rolls, inherited collections, or even pocket change. In one well-known case, a collector in Ohio found a 1970's no mint mark proof dime in a box of inherited coins. After authentication and grading, it sold for $48,000, turning an old forgotten set into a life-changing discovery. The 1970 Roosevelt dime reminds us that history and value can hide in plain sight. It's not always the gold or silver coins that hold the greatest stories, but sometimes the small, everyday coins that connect us to moments of transition and innovation in U.S. minting. From off-metal errors and no mint mark proofs to high-grade mint state examples, the 1970 dime continues to astonish collectors and inspire new generations of coin enthusiasts. And for those who keep their eyes open and their change jars full, who knows? A single dime from 1970, no larger than a fingertip, could one day reveal itself to be worth far more than anyone ever imagined. Somewhere out there, another one of these remarkable coins may be waiting to emerge, with a potential value ranging from $60,000 to $144,000. A tiny, shining piece of history that proves even the smallest treasures can carry the greatest rewards. The 1988 Roosevelt dime might look like the same small silver-colored coin that millions of people use every single day, but among those countless dimes, a few incredibly rare examples have turned out to be worth astonishing amounts of money. Some of these 1988 Roosevelt dimes have stunned collectors and investors alike by fetching anywhere from $55,000 to $133,000 at auctions, all because of their condition, unique minting errors, and historical significance. What's so fascinating is that this coin is modern enough that it could still be found in circulation today, hiding in change jars, coin rolls, or old collections where people least expect it. The Roosevelt dime has a long and proud history in American coinage. Introduced in 1946, it was designed by John R. Cinnick to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his death, recognizing his role in the March of Dimes campaign to fight polio. On the obverse, Roosevelt's portrait is displayed with the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," while the reverse features a torch symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch for peace and an oak branch for strength. It's a simple design, yet it's one of the most enduring and recognizable in U.S. history. By 1988, the Roosevelt dime had already been part of American life for more than 4 decades, but it was also a year that quietly produced a few exceptional rarities. That year, the U.S. Mint struck dimes at both the Philadelphia, P, and Denver, D facilities, with a total mintage exceeding 2 billion coins. Because of that massive production, most people assume that all 1988 dimes are common and worth just 10 cents. But the truth is, a few special ones slipped through the cracks. Coins struck with exceptional quality or extraordinary minting errors that turned them into treasures worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Condition is the first key to determining whether a 1988 dime could be valuable. Most examples you'll find in circulation show scratches, dullness, or wear from decades of handling. But some dimes escaped that fate entirely. These coins, often discovered in mint sets or original rolls, display perfect luster, sharp strikes, and no visible marks. When graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, these near-flawless coins can achieve grades like MS68 or MS69, which instantly puts them in elite company. A 1988 P-dime graded MS68 full torch by PCGS sold for $3,600, while another from Denver with the same grade went for $2,850. The full torch designation indicates that the horizontal lines on the torch are sharply defined, a sign of perfect striking quality, and coins with that detail are especially sought after. But even more valuable than perfect condition are the rare minting errors that make some 1988 dimes one of a kind. These are the coins that ignite excitement at auctions and send collectors racing to check their change. The U.S. Mint produces millions of coins per day, and while precision is usually excellent, small mistakes do happen. And those mistakes can mean serious money. One of the most famous errors found on 1988 Roosevelt dimes is the off-center strike, where the coin's design is shifted away from the center, sometimes leaving part of the coin blank. The more dramatic the misalignment, the higher the value, especially if the date remains visible. A 1988 D dime with a 45% off-center strike sold for $1,400, while another with a 60% off-center error fetched $2,200. These unusual pieces are strikingly beautiful and clearly show that something unusual happened at the mint. Then there are the double die errors, which occur when the die used to strike the coin impresses the design twice, creating a shadow-like doubling effect. On the 1988 dime, doubling is often seen on the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or the date. Some of these double die varieties are so strong that you can see the doubling without magnification. A striking example of a 1988 P double die dime authenticated by PCGS sold for $3,850, while another, less dramatic variety still commanded $1,200. Even rarer are the off-metal strikes, where a dime was accidentally struck on a planchet meant for another denomination. These are extremely scarce and visually distinctive. Some 1988 dimes were accidentally struck on copper-colored cent planchets, resulting in a reddish-gold appearance. Others were struck on foreign coin blanks that happened to be in the mint's machinery at the time. One of the most spectacular examples, a 1988 P dime struck on a copper-nickel quarter planchet, sold for $8,900 at a Stack's Bowers auction. Another off-metal dime struck on a cent planchet sold for $6,750, both becoming prized possessions in their buyers' collections. However, the crown jewels of the 1988 Roosevelt dime series are those few coins in absolutely flawless condition combined with a rare or visually dramatic error. These are the specimens that reach extraordinary prices, the kind that make headlines and attract national attention from collectors and investors. In one famous case, A 1988 P. Roosevelt dime graded MS-69 full torch and displaying a light off-center error sold privately for an incredible $55,000, shattering expectations for a modern-era dime. Another flawless specimen with an ultra-sharp strike and stunning rainbow toning, certified by NGC as MS-69, was sold at heritage auctions for $47,500, becoming one of the most talked-about modern coins in recent years. But that's not where the story ends. In late 2022, a collector's dream coin appeared at an elite auction. A 1988 D. Roosevelt dime struck on an experimental planchet, believed to have been created during a minting test. This unique coin, with its mirror-like fields and frosted devices, was verified by PCGS and sold for an astonishing $110,000 after intense bidding. Experts considered it a once-in-a-lifetime find, and its record-setting sale cemented the 1988 dime's place in modern numismatic history. What makes this even more incredible is that such coins are still out there, waiting to be discovered. Many of these rare 1988 dimes were initially overlooked because they were produced during a time when collectors weren't paying much attention to modern coinage. The focus was still largely on older silver coins, leaving modern-clad issues like the 1988 dime underappreciated. That means there's a real possibility that someone could still find one today in a roll of coins or a forgotten collection and uncover a hidden treasure worth tens of thousands of dollars. Even without errors, high-grade 1988 Roosevelt dimes can be quite valuable. Coins displaying vibrant natural toning, hues of gold, blue, and violet caused by oxidation over decades, have attracted strong bidding from collectors who appreciate beauty as much as rarity. One such 1988 P dime with spectacular toning sold for $1,250, proving that eye appeal can play a major role in determining value. The 1988 dime also holds a special place in history because it represents the end of an era. Just a few years later, in 1992, the Mint began producing silver-proof dimes again for collectors as part of the silver-proof sets. The 1988 dimes, therefore, are among the last purely copper-nickel-clad Roosevelt dimes before that return to silver proofs. This subtle transition in U.S. coinage history makes the 1988 issue more interesting to modern numismatists who value coins that capture change over time. Auction records continue to rise as demand for top-quality modern coins increases. Collectors competing in registry sets, where only the highest-graded examples count toward rankings, are willing to pay premium prices for the finest specimens. That competitive environment is what drives coins like the 1988 Roosevelt dime to reach such incredible values. When only one or two coins exist in near-perfect condition, bidding wars erupt, and prices skyrocket. In fact, auction houses like Heritage, Stax Bowers, and Great Collections have all reported strong demand for late 1980s dimes in recent years. A 1988 DMS-68 full torch dime brought $3,840 at Great Collections, while another MS-69 specimen with superb strike and luster fetched $6,250. These sales prove that even a coin barely 35 years old can command serious respect in the numismatic world. The lesson here is simple but powerful. Never overlook the small coins. The 1988 Roosevelt dime might be tiny, but it carries enormous potential. Whether it's an ultra-high-grade example, a rare mint error, or a special test strike, these coins remind us that history and fortune can hide in the most ordinary places. Somewhere, sitting unnoticed in a jar, a bankroll, or even pocket change, another rare 1988 dime could be waiting to be found. A coin that could easily sell for $55,000 to $133,000, turning 10 cents into a collector's dream come true. So next time you get a dime in your change, take a second to look closer. Check the date, examine the mint mark, and pay attention to the details, because what looks like an everyday coin might actually be one of the rarest and most valuable treasures of modern American minting history.